Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on into the house, grab yourself a ringside seat, pull yourself up, come on over and listen to some stories that we got to tell today, don't we, Frank?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely story day now because, our topic for the last 2 months is about, on hiatus right now. So now we got to go back into the archives of wrestling. We got to talk about wrestling, not just WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania has, seen the sunset behind us, and we've looked into the new dawn of a new era. And
we done posted the show. We done had a couple Raws since then, a SmackDown since. Good Lord. I mean, and it's still hot. The craziest part about it, sometimes you get that fall off, where like you reach the peak of the mountain and then all of a sudden, it's just an immediate drop. They're kind of, playing it even right now. They're not able to go up anywhere right now because, where we just came from, that was an apex, but at least they're not falling off. We're not going down the hill yet. We're just kind of leveling out right now.
Yeah, I think the way that things are going to go, how the stories build from here on out, I think that's going to be the telltale sign. I also think the fact that you don't have a lot of major players around right now. You've got The Rock going back to Hollywood. Roman's taking a hiatus.
Apparently, Roman's out making a movie right now.
I saw that.
With Keanu Reeves and Keke Palmer and Eddie Murphy's involved.
The Rock done put in a good word.
It was kind of inevitable, though, right? What have we said for the last 2 years now about how cinematic his kind of storylines are? It was almost like he was being groomed for this.
Yeah, he's already played the Godfather in the Bloodline for a while.
Exactly. From the clip that I saw, or the little picture I saw from the movie set, apparently that's kind of what he's doing there. So I'm like, they essentially just took Roman out of the Bloodline and inserted the same character in this movie.
Right back in.
And then they'll bring him back and put him right back in the same character. So at least they don't have to change up much. Just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, you got Seth and Becky who are, taking a hiatus for a while. You got Rhea who's hurt for that kind of happened.
She's on the Punk injured reserve list.
You got Punk is out right now. So you got a couple key players that are really out. You also got some contracts that are getting ready to expire, so we're going to have some contract renewal negotiations. That's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out, but I will say I've enjoyed the ride so far. We old school wrestling fans, we know that it can't be all sunshine and roses every day. So
you gotta have your peaks and your valleys. So we're probably heading into a little valley right now, but we had at least a year and a half solid of peaks. So you can't climb that long and just keep climbing. At some point you gotta kind of let it simmer down a little bit. Unfortunately, we might lose a little bit of viewership, now that, like you said, your key players are gone, but they're not going to suffer. It's not like they're going to lose enough. I think they said Raw didn't sell out this week, and it was like the first Raw in like 3 months that they didn't sell out. But come on now, you've been getting The Rock on a lot of those Raws.
This is their time to make some new stars. You've got to have that time, because if you keep the old guard at the top for so long, you stifle the young blood out.
Yeah, we've seen it happen in WCW before, so we don't want to get into that, but draft is coming in a couple of weeks, apparently. So
all three brands are in the draft.
So it looks like we're probably going to get some call-ups. From what I saw, it looks like Melo kind of finished up in NXT last night. He took that fall to Trick, and then the fans immediately went into thank you. I think they know it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
So
Trick is going to hold it down for NXT for a while.
Oh, absolutely. Trick's wrestling for the title coming up here this week. So Melo, I think how that's going to turn out. So.
Melo is definitely going to be a key player on a Raw or SmackDown brand.
I think Ilya Dragunov goes with him. I think both of those guys get the call up.
Dude, you give me Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther, please.
Man.
Please give me that match.
Please tell me that wouldn't sell out wherever.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Exactly. But I don't know. I feel like they got much bigger plans for Gunther now. I think, he's on the uptick. So
I think Gunther is going to be the next major major chapter in Cody Rhodes' story.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that take place. And whereas right now, we're kind of recapping what's been happening on Raw, SmackDown, NXT. You've kind of got LA Knight and AJ Styles in a fight right now to see who's going to be Cody's next opponent at Backlash.
Yep.
So, I think it's going to play out the way we all think it may, is as far as it's going to be AJ.
Yeah. And that works too, because AJ kind of gets his win back that he dropped at Mania. Gets the main event, the next pay-per-view out of it. So that's AJ doing the work.
And then somebody might argue, well, oh God, that's going to hurt LA. No. LA ain't slated for that world, that WWE Championship right now.
No, it would hurt LA Knight more to win the match against AJ and go wrestle for the title and lose again.
LA is eyeing that US Championship. Yeah. That's where
it would definitely hurt him more to lose twice for the title. I mean, at that point, why does he ever contend for the title again? Every time he fights for it, he loses. So it's better to take that fall against AJ now.
Yep.
Pay back the win that he got at WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all. And then, like you said, wander into that mid-card title range, get in a feud with Logan Paul. I mean, that's not a loss.
No.
Hell,
you got two of the biggest mouth runners that there are.
Yeah, if you're not going to be squared up against Cody Rhodes for the championship, being slated up against the biggest social media star possibly in the world ain't a bad place to be. So, I mean, take that, ride that. He probably gets the W out of it. I mean, hell, so then he gets a title. Come on now, that ain't a loss.
Right. So, we kind of see that happening, and if it is AJ Cody, that's a Bullet Club match that's ready to roll. That story has been unfolding for years years now.
Tell me that ain't a banger. I mean, you got Cody who was, on the come up. AJ's basically the face of TNA, came right over to WWE and achieved immediate success.
I will say this, AJ has gone on record saying, look, the end of the road is near for him. And man, if the end of the road is AJ versus Cody, dude, what a way to go out.
Right.
What a way to go out. But Cody's at the top of his game right now.
Yeah, definitely. He's firing on all cylinders. But there's one thing, we've heard a lot of guys say, the end of the road is near. And I don't know, AJ's a lot younger than guys like the Undertaker and those kind of guys. I feel like AJ's got a few more matches under his belt.
AJ might have a few more matches, but I think that family life is calling.
Yeah.
I think that's in much respect for that. Being a dad myself, I get that. You want to be around your kids as much as you can.
I could definitely see it, but I don't see him completely retiring. I see him going more into
maybe the part-timer role.
I mean, he goes into like Roman Reigns' schedule. Now. Yeah, he can go into that where he's around for a couple of months. Maybe in the heart of school where there isn't that much going on or something. And then take the whole summer off. That stuff kind of works for AJ.
But I mean, AJ
can still make a lot of money. To keep those bills paid while still being able to enjoy his kids and his family.
But when you think about AJ, though, think about the run that he's had in the WWE. Dude, his run's been really great.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He held the WWE Championship, was it for over?
Twice. Yeah, he had
it once for over a year, right?
Yeah, he had it twice. He carried it through a WrestleMania. Now, granted, that was against Shinsuke, which didn't turn out to be what
that match kind of flopped.
Yeah, it didn't turn out to be what we had really hoped for. But
I think that was also because Shinsuke was still the Shinsuke from the Vince era.
Yeah.
Had it been the Shinsuke from the Triple H era,
we definitely could have seen it go different. But I mean, it's funny you brought up Bullet Club. So speaking of that, we got an introduction to the Bloodline.
Oh, did we ever?
And
another wild member of this Bloodline in the name of Tama Tonga,
who apparently is a graduate of the original Bullet Club.
Correct.
So I mean, now we've got Finn, AJ, the OC, Tama Tonga. I mean, Cody's there. So we got more of the Bullet Club than the Bullet Club's got right now.
So tell everybody who Tama Tonga is the son of.
So King Tonga, as he is well known by the 80s wrestling fans, late 80s would know him as Haku. Or super late, like mid to late 90s would know him as Ming.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember King Tonga from the Islanders. All right.
So if anybody knows Haku from back in the day, thank you.
Thank you. Bobby Heenan joke there. I love it.
That was a good one.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
So the intensity that he had in the ring, So that was carried over from who he really was, apparently, to hear stories.
So when they talk about his son, like, you know, and they say his son has this intensity and all that, damn, he got that honest.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, because the stories we've heard about Ming, Haku, King Tonga, whatever you want to call him.
Yep.
Apparently, that dude was no joke, and nobody wanted to have anything to do with him as far as getting cross or, you know, having a bad word. Apparently, when Haku said something, you said, you know what? I didn't really see it that way before, but I'm kind of leaning that way now. I bet the hell you are. I mean, I've heard stories before about Haku biting somebody's nose off in a bar.
Yep.
Like, you know, they said they got into it at a bar. Some guy was testing him, a big bad wrestler, and that dude went home with no nose on his face. And I ain't never heard of that before. I didn't know that was like a thing. Like, but apparently no nose is a thing. And, you know, we seen Mike Tyson do it with an ear. Apparently Haku did it with a nose. Holy hell.
So Carl Anderson went on record saying the other day that, you know, that anything you're hearing about Tama Tonga is the truth, and if there was anybody that he ever wanted watching his back in a legit fight, he wanted Tama Tonga.
Yeah. So apparently he said that, you know, he's been pushing WWE to, you know, get in touch with him for years, but for whatever reason or another, I don't know, maybe he wasn't really interested, or maybe they weren't really, you know, sure what they could do with him. Seems like he would have had an immediate in with Haku, you know, being the, you know, stellar member that he was of the wrestling family. But who knows? You know, stuff gets weird and people get funky about stuff like that. But he's here now and poised to make a pretty big splash.
Yep, him and Solo seem to be running roughshod now with the bloodline. Poor Jimmy caught the beat down.
Yeah, somebody had to
catch it. It wasn't gonna be Paul.
No, hell no. Paul said, "Well, I guess I'm with this bloodline now."
Paul said, "I'm gonna ride with these guys for a while.
I'm gonna go somewhere wherever I'm safe."
But if anybody is the right person to take two young guys far in the WWE, Paul Heyman is the guy.
No, I mean, I can already see so many different things. I could see Roman coming back, joining up with Jimmy and Jay, and having Bloodline A versus Bloodline. I mean, we saw with the NWO. You know, we saw Black and White versus Red and Black. Granted, that got a little convoluted, it got a little funky, but I feel like, you know, Triple H, who was actually a part of the, you know, faction wars and things like that, would know better how to handle that situation and be able to poise it a little better.
Yeah,
instead of, you know, because what we don't want is the whole Isle of Tonga, you know, in the wrestling ring where there's 50 guys in there, you know, having a battle royal amongst themselves and can't nobody keep track of who the hell's who.
This is where their storyline is going to split and kind of turn in on itself and give us a new chapter in the Bloodlines history, which I'm here for. I look, as soon as Solo grabbed that mic and turned, what did I text you? I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. I'm ready to see that.
They said he was the heir apparent to Tribal Chief, so I mean, what better time to take it than when the throne's sitting there empty?
If he turns and then Jimmy and Jay reunite, and then it's Jimmy J versus Solo and Tom, you know, and then who knows?
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Who knows where else this could turn? Roman coming back, being babyface. Rock coming back.
That's why I say I would see Roman come back and join up with Jimmy and Jay, and then I would see Rock come back. Because, I mean, Solo flat out told Paul, you know, all this that happened with Jimmy was by order of the Tribal Chief.
Yep.
And Paul said, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean?
And then when Paul went to go call his Tribal Chief, Solo smashed that phone and told him, no, we don't need to do that now. Let's roll. So there's somebody pulling something, and we've thought this before.
Absolutely.
This isn't the first time that you've heard this on this podcast.
Go back in our archives.
Exactly. This isn't the first time we told you on this podcast that there's been people pulling strings from higher up from before. And I just think now they're just living a little more into it because we've got a great writing team that remembers stuff like that.
Yep. I'm loving it. Something else I'm also loving. Chad Gable's heel turn.
Wow,
yeah. I loved that.
I mean,
that was amazing.
He went crucial with it. I mean, you know, do what he did to Sammy right in front of his wife. I mean, they played it up all the way into it.
Snatched the boy out of his wife's arms in a celebration.
They played all the way into it. I mean, in Sammy's hometown, nonetheless. You know, where his dad was there, his wife was there, his kid was there. I mean, you know, I know the kid was going back to the kid ain't go back to the hotel. Kid was sitting right in the back watching it, you know, in catering with whoever was sent back there to keep an eye on him. All that happened, you know. Now, I mean, that stuff looked real. Like
the way that
Gable's so intense, you know, he could bring it.
So I will say there was 2 times in that match where I legit set up. I was laying in bed. I sat up and I was like, oh shit. Like, some of those moves, dude, they were like hairs away from like breaking somebody's neck for real. Yeah. But at the end of that, when he had Sammy in the turnbuckle with the ankle lock.
Yep.
That was
stuck in the turnbuckle.
I've never seen that before.
No,
that was like when Charlotte and Sasha was in the guardrail.
Yeah,
in that one match.
Yeah, we were there for that.
We were there.
That was in Charlotte, or like when Bret Hart used to do the figure 4 on the post.
Speaking of we were there, go back to archives. Watch. I was there.
There you go. Absolutely. WrestleMania 22. Oh, okay, I digress.
We had a plug there.
Sorry. Absolutely. Yeah, I digress. But yeah, I mean, that's all of those with throwbacks to Bret Hart doing the whole figure 4 on the post thing. When that first happened, that was original. It's like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. But Bret would do it in the match where there could be, they would count him down to 4 and he would have to break the hold. Charlotte and Sasha were lucky enough that they had false count anywhere, so they got to do their spot. But, I mean, Chad did it after the match. There was no stopping that. Chad could still be holding that ankle in that arena for all we know.
So I'm hoping they get him out of these Brad-ass colors, the red, white, and blue. Yeah. Get him out of that. Give him a darker ring gear, darker persona.
Yeah.
I don't mean darker like Judgment Day. I don't want him to go goth. Right. But I just want him to be like, dude, just badass.
Yeah, he just got it right. He just got to be, he's got to be the machine. He's got to be Kurt Angle circa 2006.
I'm here for it,
He's the machine. And and consequently, though, that means he's got to break up with the Alpha Academy. I mean. And
I heard somebody the other day say they wasted the babyface push that they could have put him in.
I think they got all they could get out of that.
I see it, but it wasn't going to go but so far.
No, being completely honest, Chad Gable, as far as the, happy-go-lucky babyface, that all passed on when Jason Jordan got in.
Yeah, the whole shoosh.
Exactly. Everything since then has been kind of funky and kind of wonky, but nothing has played into his character. I mean, and I get it. They're trying to go straight down the Kurt Angle mold, right? Because Kurt was funny.
Yep.
Kurt was able to do all that stuff. But then when Kurt had to turn it on, Kurt was a badass. I get it. They're trying to go down. But Chad ain't got Kurt's personality. Right? He just don't. The shoosh thing was funny, for a while. But what else? What else you got? So that's not the way to go. Put him in this machine role and let him go out there and show you that he is a badass wrestler that will break your bone when he gets a hold of you if he wants to.
If they do this right, we've seen this before, a different version of it though. Sammy KO. Mm-hmm. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
If they play this right, Sammy Chad could go up against that. It could rival that feud. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, it could definitely be good.
And that kind of builds into what we're kind of going for the topic today of why is wrestling cool again?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because The Rock came back, right? I mean, that's what he said. Rock said Rock came back, splashed Rock into the thing, and all of a sudden wrestling was cool. So, like, Rock hadn't watched nothing of like 2023, 22. Rock said day one of 2024, immediately wrestling was cool because Rock was on the show.
Rock, let me acknowledge you the correct way. Final boss, sir.
There you go.
Final boss.
Final boss.
Engage. Mm-hmm. No, but I think what we're getting at, though, is part of the reason why wrestling is cool again. We actually got some creative people, some creative juices flowing behind the scenes that are giving us some really interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, you got to refresh, right? So let's be honest. For a good while of the latter part of the 2010s, wrestling had gotten stale.
Yeah,
I mean,
very stale.
We were fans. We trudged on. We soldiered
on. Yep.
But I mean, wrestling had got real stale. It was kind of like how now on Wednesday night or let's say Saturday night, I don't feel like turning the channel to whatever wrestling show may or may not be showing.
There's something else showing? Hell, I don't know that.
It's somewhere. I mean, it is showing somewhere. Ain't nobody there watching it.
I ain't watching it no more.
Right. I mean, at this point now, I'm only holding on to Wednesday night because of the podcast. There are things that'll happen on Wednesday that'll make me need to watch, but there ain't a damn thing happening on Friday after 10 o'clock and Saturday at all needing me to watch no damn wrestling.
Fans, Frank is our new AEW correspondent because Marky Mark has checked out.
Yeah, so that's going to be few and far between. I will give them credit though. The angle they did with Swerve and Samoa Joe last night was cool.
I'm gonna watch Dynasty on Sunday. I'm gonna, I will watch it, but at the same time, if I'm honest, Swerve and Joe is the only thing that I care to see.
So Danielson Ospreay, everybody's already called it.
I care to see that.
Well, so that's the thing. Everybody's already called it the match of the year before. I heard Conrad Thompson say on one of his podcasts today, they're calling it the match of the year before they even assemble the ring.
It's overhyped.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's exactly where I'm going to go at this point now. That's all they got is, man, this match is going to be epic. It's going to 7-star. Dave Meltzer's already got his lotion bottle
in the Tokyo
Exactly. Dome. He's got the lotion bottle by the TV. I mean, he's got a whole roll of toilet paper. He's going to make a mess. But the rest of the world is probably going to be like, all right, yeah, it's wrestling. It happened. But that's going to be it. Unfortunately, that's all we're going to be able to give y'all on AEW this week because, I mean, they had non-compelling We're definitely not talking about that all-in videotape. No. Damn sure ain't talking about that. So, that was an abomination. I don't even want to give minutes to.
So let's pause and just say something real quick because I always like it when another podcast show that we listen to says this. It ain't the talent.
It's definitely not the talent.
It ain't the talent.
No, it's the story.
It's the story.
The fact that everybody who's listening, who has listened, who goes in the archives knows the wrestling can give you only so much.
Yep.
You can tell, they talk about people told a story in the ring, blah, blah, blah. Great, right? But if I don't care why two people are wrestling, the story they're telling me in the ring is I'm gonna forget about it as soon as the bell rings, right? It's gone.
Yep.
When that match goes off TV, I'll never know why the hell I enjoyed watching it, short of, man, did you see this spot or did you see that spot? Other than that, you don't care. All of AEW is like that right now, short of maybe one or two good storylines, like the Swerve Joe thing. That's a good storyline, right? They're putting effort in that. And the problem is I don't think Tony knows how to put his efforts into anything more than his main story.
We know why that is kind of something of interest because Joe has a proven track record of making a in-depth story around a match. Just go back and look at his feuds in TNA and WWE with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I mean, still to this day, I can hear Joe walking through the arena going, Wendy.
Exactly. Right. But he takes it to another level.
He made it so interesting. And then Swerve's been around for a while on the indie scene, got caught up in WWE for a little while, made the switch over to AEW. So he's been around for a little while, longer than a cup of coffee, as much of I would say.
Absolutely.
Longer than a cup of coffee.
Got more time in the business than Trick Williams, and we love Trick. Right. So, I mean, Swerve's got the potential to drag me back in.
But Swerve hasn't had that airtime until now.
Exactly.
To actually showcase what he can really do. And my, oh my, what he showcased with Hangman and what he's showcasing now with Joe.
Yep. If they don't put him over at this pay-per-view now,
they've wasted it.
And that's why, like I just said a minute ago, Swerve's got the potential to bring me back in.
Yep.
If they put the title on him and they give him a good run, that'll get me back interested in it. If he loses, I don't even know if I can watch Wednesday night no more at this point.
Not to mention, if Swerve wins, he will be their first African-American champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, all of that potential is right there.
Yep.
If somehow or another he finds a way to lose, I don't even know. It'll be hard to even watch Wednesday night at that point because, I mean, like you said, it's definitely the stories are what's turning me off. The talent is the only thing keeping me around.
Talent in AEW now, granted, some talent is old and needs to go onto the wayside.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, Jericho just go Fozzy it out.
I mean, Jericho
go ride the Fozzy
he said last
train.
night some people regard him as the best in the world, and I'm like, no one regards him as that was my thing. Well, Tony Khan, I mean, obviously, because hell, he apparently he does, and that's really all that matters.
All right, we got to get off our bag of AEW. We got to get back to what we were talking about.
No, AEW needs to get off their bag and start impressing us again. Give me something good to talk about. Damn. Where's Britt Baker? My God, jeez.
Now you ain't wrong, but I digress.
Man, give me something good to talk about here.
All right, so what makes wrestling cool again? So we
not AEW's booking.
So we talked about the writers, the creative writers, the creative ideas that are flowing in WWE right now. Let's talk about the new era that has started. That kind of is in correlation with the new writers, but at the same time, I think it's a different pair of eyes that is also driving the product.
Absolutely.
Triple H is looking at this in a wrestler's point of view, I believe, and he's got the businessman at his side to look at the business point of view. He got Nick Khan.
Yeah, he's handling all the office side, which gives Triple H all the time in the world to only focus on the creative, which is what WWE had been lacking for so long. When WWE was a private company and Vince was, everything, Vince had his team around him and they handled everything. Everything was great, right? When they went public and they had to bring in board of directors and they had bosses to start answering to, everything started getting funky. Right. And everybody says, "Oh, Vince lost his creativity. WCW wasn't there and they didn't have any competition or all of that's great and it's good, great and whatever, but the fact of the matter is when the company went public and they had to start answering to things and they had to start worrying about sponsors and they had to start scaling things back because they didn't want to lose advertising, that's when it started getting funky. Let's be honest. That's when wrestling started getting shady and people started losing interest. And that's the only reason why, but I mean, they made $9 billion off of doing it. So it was definitely a calculated risk that paid off in the long run, but for a long-term fan who's been there from before, after, what is it, then, now, together, forever. Yep. Whatever. But nonetheless, for people who have been there for all of that, it's hard to go through. We talked about peaks and valleys a little bit earlier. Some of them valleys got real damn deep, and it got hard for some of us long-term fans to get in them deep waters and say, damn, we got to keep our heads afloat here. We're in it right now with TNA. They had a real high peak real fast, and they're in a deep, deep valley right now. They're way below sea level right now.
They self-sabotaged.
That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's a sad episode.
It is. Yeah, we'll save that for like the Friday the 13th episode or something like that, where we could get into some of the creepy stuff that happened. But again, WWE, they won in the long run because now we're definitely at a peak, and we're still peaking, which is great. So
wait a minute, are we peaking or yeeting?
I mean, well,
which one are we doing?
So apparently Jay and Pat McAfee are yeeting all over the place right now. I mean, so
first things first. Let me say this.
There's something that's making wrestling cool again.
My wife,
Pat McAfee, my goodness.
My wife is trying to figure out why Pat is saying that he's yeeting all over everything, and I had to tell her, stop for a minute.
Yeah,
look at this.
Sound it out.
Look at this through a 15-year-old boy's eyes, and tell me now what you think.
Exactly. Well, I mean, hell, in the vein of the topic, I mean, WWE's yeeting all over AEW right now, but I mean, we digress. Oh well. He's done, so I'll pick up some of the slack right now because he isn't gonna get over that one too fast.
Yeet.
Yeah, I mean they're yeeting all over AEW.
Tony Khan back there going, no yeet.
Yeah, no kidding, right? He's probably got a no yeet shirt on right now. Like, good Lord, no more yeet.
I can't take no more yeet.
But yet everybody in that CM Punk yeeted all over Tony Khan a couple weeks ago. Oh my God! I mean, he went postal after that. But oof.
But yeah,
oh Lord, we'd have had a
Frank over there yeeting on his mic.
Right, we'd have had a complete meltdown over here. Now I'm yeeting.
You gotta clean that mic up.
I was over here doing the arm pump. I was getting my yeet on over here, and I mean, shit started going yeeting to the left, and oh my God.
Hey Jay, thank you, sir. We appreciate the yeet. We appreciate it.
Oh
sir.
Yeah.
But absolutely. So another thing that is kind of making wrestling cool again. We got in the Attitude Era, we got some crazy factions that it was amazing. You got DX, you got Right to Censor, you got the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, on the other side, NWO, the Horsemen were always hanging around, that. So what's old is new again, right? Yep. And Triple H was one of the heaviest hitters of all during that era. So of course he would understand it. No. But I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, it's the same reason people like sports. Like, God only knows how you could be a Cowboys fan, right? But somehow or another you are.
I felt that as a slight there, sir.
Well, I'm just saying, you understand
Cowboys
it.
Nation, rise
exactly.
up.
You understand it. Nobody else does. I mean, but you understand. It's, they were like the teams that never won, right? So, but people still hang on to them. So you find your faction, you find your team.
Look now, we didn't have one blow up over the whole Roman Cody thing.
Well, that's because there was actually some competition in there. There was actually a thought of, man,
okay,
one might win, other one might win
for the night.
At least, right? At least in this conversation, we know who ain't winning.
I bow out, sir. I bow out.
Okay, I digress. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a lot easier to get behind a team of people or a group of people than it is just to, for a whole society to get behind one man, right? It's easy to get behind the bloodline if you say, hey, some of those guys look like me. Some of those guys sound like me. I like those guys. Or like you just said a little bit ago, if you got kind of that goth punk type thing going on, it's easy to get behind a Judgment Day team because they look like you. They sound like you.
Right.
One person can't really do that, unless you're Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or when you're creating these characters, building them up, they're not going to get, 50 million people to follow them overnight.
Yeah.
But if you start them off in a faction, you get people to like the group. Well, all of a sudden, they start liking their favorite out of the group. It's a great way to develop young talent, package them in with older, more experienced talent. And look at Dom, for Christ's sake. I mean,
exactly. I was about to say that.
Good Lord. I mean, Dom, in a group that people don't really, they don't really hate the Judgment Day, right? Like everybody loves Rhea. That's a fact.
Right.
Rhea and Dom, for them to be packaged together as a quote unquote couple, couldn't be farther apart from each other on the spectrum of fan appreciation. Rhea gets all the cheers, all the adulation. Everybody loves her. Dom on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. Everybody hates him. He gets booed out of the building. Dom got booed at his own wedding by his own family.
Which was amazing.
I mean, God, I don't know who thought about that or who had the sense enough to say, hey, video this. This is going to be good.
Yep.
My God, no, if they should have got that on damn wrestling TV, that was better than wrestling TV.
But one good thing about all these factions that have popped up everywhere now, they all have a built-in story, and it's just waiting on somebody to pull the trigger.
Yep.
Because somewhere down the line, there's going to be one person inside that faction who's going to take a stab and stab that leader in the back.
That's the purpose of a faction.
That's the purpose of a faction.
You only put a bunch of guys together to elevate people. I mean, look at New Day. Kofi had a lot of title reigns, right? The rest of the guys in New Day ain't had nothing. They ain't had nothing really going on. Big E had just broken off from like a Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee pairing that
was weird.
No one understood why he was in. I mean, and Xavier Woods, he'd still be in NXT. Well, no, he'd be released. Let's call a spade a spade. He'd have been released.
I was about to say he'd still be in Page, but we're on a PG show.
Wow.
we had a PG show.
I ain't mad at him for that. You know what I mean? So we're caveat here for 1 second.
I think I might have popped Frank.
Exactly. Caveat here for 1 second. I ain't mad at that man for never bit of that.
Nope.
If I was in wrestling and I was their age at the time, I'd have been all up in that too.
Absolutely.
So, but nonetheless, that's the whole reason of a faction is to see what guy's going to emerge as the overall star, in what you're putting together. So you put the bloodline together. That Roman's gone. Jimmy's out. Jay's doing his thing on a completely different show. Solo gets to step up.
Yep.
Rhea Ripley's out. She was in the Judgment Day. She definitely stepped up way farther than where everybody else was. But now she's out. Same time she goes out, Damian Priest wins the World Heavyweight title. You've made at least 3 people because Finn was already made and Dom is over.
Speaking of Judgment Day, sidbarring the topic for just 1 second. Did you hear Bully's thought process on Busted Open the other day of what they should do with Liv?
Oh yeah, where they said she should come in and kind of take the mommy role.
Take the mommy role and be there for Dom.
That would be amazing for Liv.
That would be genius if they do this.
And hopefully, they haven't shied away from taking ideas from podcasts and shows before. Hopefully they
Triple
play
H,
into
they'll be
that.
stealing our stuff.
Exactly.
Like we said before, cite your sources. That's
right.
all we ask.
Or hire.
We're available.
There's been a lot of layoffs at WWE. A lot of the old regime is headed out, and there's a lot of room for new regime.
Yep.
I mean, where two good story guys are right now.
Absolutely.
Make the call.
But so, you got factions that have also been part of this process, but we've also got the whole, I don't want to call it a farm league, but it started out that way. It's not a farm league anymore, but the whole NXT stuff that they're doing as far as getting these talent that's down there in NXT airtime, getting them time to run promos, letting them kind of experiment with their character and everything. And then all of a sudden they pop up on Raw or SmackDown. All I've got to say to you is Exhibit A, Tiffany Stratton.
Mm-hmm. I mean, overnight success, right?
Crazy.
She's 2 years into the business.
Yep.
And she may be already at the top, of her card. Now, granted, she didn't have like a WrestleMania match or anything like that, but she shouldn't have. She got called up a month and a half before WrestleMania. You don't want to put her on that stage and say sink or swim, because what can happen is she might sink. And you don't want to do that with a talent that is that young and that fresh.
Right.
So you got to protect her. You got to keep her safe. Granted, I'm sure she wanted a Mania match. She probably wanted to headline Mania against Charlotte Flair. Matter of fact, I think I even heard she said that's what she wants to do next year.
That'll be there in due time.
Lofty damn goal, right?
That'll be there in due time.
But she's got a year to put the work in, to whereas next year she could very well be in that spot.
So, I mean, you've seen talent be elevated. You've seen the factions. You've got creative writing.
We're forgetting one thing that's making wrestling cool.
And what was that?
R-Truth. Man, I mean, tell me, anybody listening, tell me you're not watching Raw on Monday and Truth ain't cracking your ass up. Truth, that dude is hilarious.
Truth, thank you for what you do. I'm going to say this before you get into a Hall of Fame stage. Just thank you for what you do. But also, please, please, please listen to one dedicated fan who loves highball comedy, who loves the whole trying to shoot over the head comedy. If you can just be an announcer or backstage reporter or whatever it needs to be when you hang your boots up and get out of the ring, please do so.
Please WWE don't have sense enough to make him some kind of ambassador for the company. That would be an immediate, because I mean, if they don't, Tony Khan's going to sign him right up, probably put him in the ring again. I mean, Truth would be 70 when he retires. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tony. He'll still probably look the same. Tony Khan will sign him and put him right on in the league and tell him, hey, go out there and do your thing. And Truth will do that split and that hip break, and oh my God, you want to talk about bad TV? That will be bad TV.
But look, if you want to know truth, now, granted, I'm gonna say this, and don't look at the production value, and definitely don't look at what it really was. But if you want to know what we're talking about with R-Truth, go watch the Slammies that happened.
Oh yeah,
and how comedic he was during that.
Truth saved that debacle. They had completely fallen apart with the production.
Absolutely.
I mean, the teleprompter was off key. The worst thing I'd seen WWE put out on any of their outlets in a long, long time, right? This was Vince 2015-esque.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was a mess. But whenever they would start to falter and stuff would start to crack and crumble, they just asked Truth to go out there and just do some stuff.
Yep.
And Truth went out there, and I mean, between his grocery list and other stuff that Truth did for the Emmys, it turned into the Slammies, hilarious.
Also, since we're talking about Truth, how about them new World Heavyweight?
Oh yeah, so
tag titles.
The world tag titles. Yeah, no longer the red copper two Trojan things. Yeah, they went
Trojan
into
Trojan man.
Exactly. Well, I was thinking other Trojans. I was like, they did, but that's back to the Page story again. So we don't want to get.
You don't remember the commercial with Trojan Man?
Oh, I definitely remember
that.
Yeah.
Trojan Man,
with the little horse and all that. Yeah, he was on the Trojan horse. Yeah, absolutely, I remember that. I used to be one of their better customers back in that time frame. So yeah, I definitely remember it. But again, we digress. So
we are rolling today, everybody.
Is the show almost over here? Because we are so far off the rails right now. I know there's people listening like, what the shit are they talking about right now? Don't worry about it. We told you guys after Mania, we're going back to fun. We're going back to having a blast.
Yep.
And I know we're way loose today. So y'all just enjoy it with us. Have a few laughs.
But those belts, they were pretty. They are, they are in the same vein as the World Heavyweight Championship and the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. So those are really cool designs. I was digging it. The Griffins on the side. A lot of people, again, for whatever reason, they looked at it and they started crapping on it right off the bat.
That's Pavlov's dog at this point. Now, anytime they see something new, I hate that. Nobody liked the blue and the red belt. Nobody did, which means anything they do to improve it is an improvement.
Is an improvement.
Nobody liked those old belts. So let's not pretend like, oh my God, the copper belts are out, or
interested to see what
stainless steel belts are out, and I'm sad. No one's sad.
I'm interested to see what kind of belts A-Town Under gets.
Absolutely, they're coming on Friday
they're getting
night.
Some new ones. So kind of see how that's going to play.
Tonight, as you guys are listening, prep for it. You're going to get some blue tag team titles tonight.
So
hopefully not with them damn W's on it. Though. I mean, I feel like that's where they're going to end up.
It might go
I feel like that's where they're going to end up being. But hopefully there's a little more creativity in there than just a big blue W on the front of it.
Yeah, but I think one more thing that we can kind of call out that is making wrestling cool again. I think the whole Rock, Roman, Cody, that whole 2 year story
definitely elevated thing. It took it to a whole new level.
It allowed people to get invested in. I'm going to say this as bipartisan as I can say. It doesn't matter which side you were on.
No,
you were invested.
Right, you were on a side.
You were on that ride. Like Rock said, let me take you on the ride.
Yep.
You were on that ride, and they let us off on WrestleMania at the end of night 2 and said, "Did you enjoy it?" And everybody who is anybody, I don't care if you was on Roman's side, if you was on Rock's side, Cody's side, I don't care who you were. You can't come away from WrestleMania night 1 and night 2 and say that you didn't enjoy those two events.
And if you can, then you're not really a wrestler.
You're not really a wrestler.
Right. That means you were watching with somebody, or you ain't had no clue what was going on. Your boyfriend was watching it and you were stuck in the living room. Some of that, those people didn't enjoy it. But if you've watched at least 4 to 5 months of wrestling before that storyline started, they had you hooked.
Yeah, so those are kind of some of the elements right now that are making wrestling cool again. Will it continue? Who knows? But I'll tell you this, even if I wasn't a longtime fan, I've seen enough within the past year and a half to know if I was a new fan, I'm hooked right now.
Yeah.
I'm hooked. You got me.
I wasn't a long-term fan, I damn sure could be right now.
Yeah, you got me. Let's see where this thing unfolds.
Yep.
Will it stay cool? Who knows? Will it elevate and become the hottest, professional sport out there? Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Or will Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty return and be too cool?
Turn in the same time, same bad channel. As we wrap this episode up, we want to hear your thoughts on what you think is making wrestling cool again. Drop us a line on our social media platforms. Let us know your thoughts. And as always, we thank you for listening to our episode today. And with that, we bid you adieu.
Stay cool.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X.